vocation, dedication, with the spirit, consent, sacred connection.
The semester I spent attending college in San Francisco, I learned how women in the United States approached intimacy and sexual relationships. The diverse perspectives ranged from an abhorrence of the act coupled with a fear and religion-based barrier to an open acceptance of casual intimacy. When I returned to Estolia with Jara, I had the chance to ask my uncle some questions that began burning within me. Why was promiscuity acceptable for the sons of Zacharias and not for the daughters of Estoliana? What about the women with whom my brothers dallied? Uncle Zeke's response only partially satisfied me. He said that young men are urged to use caution in their intimate encounters, never to take a woman's purity. In our modern times, they are educated on the risks associated with unprotected sex. He explained that these casual liaisons in their youth would provide them the contrast necessary to develop a deep and abiding appreciation for the soul-to-soul connection they would one day form with their Kaylee. Rhiannon Amador, Estolian Intimacy, an Introduction.
By the time Laia had spent a week in Estolia, she knew she would never want to leave. Nico returned less than 2 days after she had arrived, and with him was Kenzie, the woman Zeke predicted he would meet. She was an amazing woman with nearly waist-length hair that was a brilliant rainbow array of colors. She had a strong personality. As Zeke predicted, Nico was in love with her, an emotion that seemed obvious to everyone in the palace, except for Kenzie herself. At dinner, the night before Rhea and Jare were to come out of their seclusion, Zeke said,
"Tomorrow, Nico, Leon, Isaiah and I will go to the ceremony room with the elders and acolytes. We will pronounce judgment on Zer and Rhea. If the Spirit sanctifies their union, we will escort them to the cathedral for the wedding to finalize their holy relationship."
Zeke looked over at Laia and Kenzie and added,
"I am sorry, my dears, but the marriage ceremony will be in the Estolian language. Rhea will have to translate for Zer."
Before Laia could say anything regarding that revelation, Max said,
"I will sit with Laia and translate for her."
He grinned over at Nico and Kenzie.
"I am sure Kadarin will be able to translate for Kenzie."
Zeke beamed at them.
"Excellent idea."
The various members of the family discussed the wedding with excitement. To Laia, Estolian weddings were a mix of complexity and simplicity compared to her sister's wedding. She gathered, from the conversation around her, that they were planning the details of the wedding ceremony casually over the course of one meal, instead of the 6 months of tedious planning that went into Penelope's big day. She thought the Estolian way was better. The number of details seemed similar, but she would rather fuss over them for 12 hours rather than 6 months.
Dedication.
The cathedral was small but exquisite, built next to Mount Estoliana. Max escorted Laia into the building and seated her in one of the front seats, settling next to her. His arm was around her shoulders, and he spoke in a whisper, his breath warm on her ear.
This is considered a formality so long as the couple received sanction prior to the actual consummation. This means, of course, that there is a small chance this marriage might be forbidden. But Zeke was there in the States when they first met, so I do not believe it will.
Does it ever?
She asked him. He looked thoughtful, considering the question, before saying,
I know of at least one incident from history where it happened that way, but it seems like there might be a few others.
He shrugged eloquently, as if the answer was unknown and unimportant. Laia suddenly felt as if she could say something that had been in her mind over the course of the days she'd been in Estolia. She said,
It often seems to me, Max, as if there are 2 languages in Estolia, the spoken word with its surface meanings, and an underlying one based on symbolism.
I admit there are many things that are intuitively understood here, and thus, when we speak, much of the message is buried within context. I have heard, however, that you are making a lot of progress learning our language.
Yes,
she said slowly.
But the undercurrents I sense aren't based in the language so much as the belief system you share.
Before he could respond to her observation, they heard the sound of many feet on the tile floor and looked towards the entrance. Several dozen acolytes and elders in their religious robes were entering the cathedral, escorting the glowing couple to the dais. During the short ceremony, Zeke declared with evident satisfaction that the Spirit had sanctified and ratified their union before deity and the royalty of Estolia, and that Zare Alfonso Amadore and Ria Zakarian Amadore would be married for all time, and into eternity beyond this life, with all the blessings that came with keeping the promise of Zacharias. Max sat next to Lyra, his arm around her shoulders, so he could whisper a translation for her throughout the ceremony. She did not realize how often she leaned close to him, subconsciously declaring her interest in him.
After the seclusion, no mere illusion, together we face a life of dedication, ratification, dedication, with the Spirit, consent, sacred connection.